For the Masters of the Universe line, Mega Construx has been giving us build sets and card-backed micro-action figures, 2-packs and mounts, and they have also given us small build kits that come in a very unique packaging. Builds that are too small for a proper box set, these skulls seem to be Mega Construx's answer to the polybag. Hi everyone, I'm Mac, and this is part 1 of the 3 Heads of Skeletor. This is the Cliff Climber.
By the power of Grayskull!
Mega Construx has packaged and presented the Cliff Climber, as well as 3 other small build sets, to us in a unique way. The case they come in is a Skeletor head. The back piece pops off and all the parts as well as the instructions are contained inside. Once the set is complete, the Skeletor head is also used as a display stand for the build inside. Each of the 3 heads are all different, which you'll see when we get to the other 2, with this one actually being a glow-in-the-dark piece. The Cliff Climber does not have a presence in the mini-comics, nor did it ever make it into the Filmation cartoon. Having hit store shelves in 1987, the Cliff Climber was one of 3 sets called Power Gear that came out at the end of the vintage line. A motorized harness that could be worn by most standard Masters of the Universe figures, the Cliff Climber had a working winch that could pull figure up along the string that unspooled from its back. While the commercial and the primary box art shows the Cliff Climber being worn by Man-at-Arms, the box also shows Skeletor wearing the gear, so it was one of those pieces that could be used by either heroic or evil warriors, and probably was there to entice kids to want to buy more than one for their collection. The Mega Construx incarnation of the Cliff Climber does, like most things in the Masters of the Universe line, a good job of mimicking its original vintage release for the 5.5-inch figures. A bright yellow in color like construction equipment, the Cliff Climber is a buildable pack that a micro-action figure wears on his torso like armor. Starting at the bottom and working our way up, the Cliff Climber provides the wearer with boot attachments to help him create footholds in the rocky terrain he is ascending. At the mid-torso, we have a black drum up front. Now on the vintage pack, this was motorized as well as the winch and could be used to help the character ascend vertical surfaces and roll over obstacles instead of just being dragged up the side of a wall. The Cliff Climber also has a piece that lowers in place over the wearer's head and provides protective shielding to deflect falling rocks. Now this part, I have to admit, is a little delicate. If you push on the wrong part of the canopy, like the transparent piece that is used for the face shield, it has a tendency to pop off with the wrong type of pressure. Around back is where we have the main function of the Cliff Climber, its winch. A small peg piece out the back gives the grappling hook something to latch onto when not in use, and I really appreciate this small addition, giving us somewhere to anchor the hook rather than having it flop around loose. We get a decent amount of string with the winch, but as with any toy like this, there's a lot of people that will cut their own length from string they have laying around the house to get the grappling hook to extend out as long as they want. The spool turns to wind the string up, but because where it's placed being attached to the hinged canopy instead of the back, it can make winding the spool up a bit of a delicate process. As I said, the commercial and the box art of the vintage piece featured Man-at-Arms wearing the Cliff Climber. The Mega Construx version, while it does come with a micro-action figure, opted to include Fisto with the build rather than Man-at-Arms. I appreciate this decision for 2 reasons. First, we have already received numerous versions of Man-at-Arms. I don't feel like we need another one to add to the line. But more important than that, this Fisto we received with the Cliff Climber fixes a few issues we had with the card-backed Fisto that we took a look at a few weeks ago, card and link if you want to watch that video. First, whereas the original Fisto had brunette hair, this version has his hair and beard painted a more reddish auburn color, putting him more in line with how the character is supposed to be. But also, and I love this part, the Fisto that comes with the Cliff Climber also has his torso painted black. This means that if you put the armor from the card-backed Fisto on this Fisto, he no longer has that bare-chested look underneath his armor piece. Between the 2 micro-action figures, you can swap parts and kit bash together until you build your own perfect incarnation of Fisto. It is also worth noting that on my first Fisto video, a subscriber named Pretender Prowl commented on my Fisto review video and mentioned that you could also take the torso of a battle armor He-Man and use that for Fisto's torso to armor him up if you don't want to paint over your figures. He's been doing reviews of Mega Construx Masters of the Line as well, so check him out. Once again, links and cards provided. In addition to Fisto and the Cliff Climber, we also get a number of additional accessories with this set, so let's take a look at them. First, we get a weapons rack filled with weapons. This is something I always appreciate getting, and it harkens back to the vintage line when we would occasionally get an extra weapon thrown in with action figures and playsets. The Masters of the Universe line has always been generous with extra weaponry. On this weapons rack, we also get a unique piece in the form of this huge handheld drill. This is also something that was given to the vintage toy, and I like that they made this a brick-built piece rather than just making some new molds for it. In addition to the big drill, we also get another halberd and a sword, and I really like the bronze-headed mace. The weapons rack itself can be pegged to any base and would make a good addition to something like Castle Grayskull, but it is small enough that it could be added to Point Dread as well. Speaking of Castle Grayskull, the final pack-in accessory we get is this, a new Orb of Knowledge for our Castle Grayskull set. While it may look the same as what we already have at first glance, when we put the two side by side, we see that the Cliff Climber version of the orb has a more complete base to house it, making it look more like the lower half of the orb itself is cradled in the base rather than just sitting on top of it. The orb can be taken out of the base, and when it does, we see that it's only half an orb. No worries, Mega Construx provided us with the lower half that can be attached as well, and even went so far as to give us this peg piece that fits in the bottom to complete the orb so that the micro action figures have a way to hold it. If you don't have a Castle Grayskull to display the Orb of Knowledge in, or if you like the orb that came with it, then no problem. The orb has its own place to be displayed on the display stand as well. Okay, I'm honestly not that impressed with the build of the Cliff Climber itself. It's a little fragile, and the winching mechanism doesn't work as well as it should. However, with the new Fisto, the pack of weapons, and the new Orb of Knowledge for Castle Grayskull, I personally think there is a lot here to appreciate with this set. Now, the price-to-piece ratio isn't going to be the best when you look at it, but you have to take into account that you're basically buying a micro-action figure with a lot of accessories. They couldn't make the price any lower. These Skeletor head sets are fun accessory sets for your Masters of the Universe line, and I think there's a lot to be appreciated here, despite the shortcomings of the main build. We'll see what the other two Skeletor heads have in store for us as well. So until we take a look at those, play well everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.